as far as we are concerned, they're also planning on having, and I'm suggested to Suki for her to have, and this is up to you, Maz, if you want to have at least a joint meeting. Hello?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Right. If you
Yep.
want to have like maybe we have a joint meeting with both committees, say every 3 months or whatever you decide with Suki. And because I think it would be beneficial for both committees to get together at least once to see, because my telling you, and everybody is not really involved hearing. I think, and I did suggest it as well to Suki, and I told her I was gonna suggest it to you, and both chairs can get together and choose a date and time so that we are collaborating, because the majority of the buildings going up are housing units, and it's important that the housing committee is involved as well and have some sort of input as far as that's concerned. So we did just discuss, what's coming, what our plans are, meetings that we would like to have with some of the elected officials as well, reaching out to Brian Cunningham, the senator's office, and to see what's the future, what are they planning, and will there be any displacements with residents that's been here for a while. So it's what the take back is, that we need to be a little more boots on the ground as far as working with the elected officials, or try to get ahead as to what they have coming down the pike, because it seems to be a lot of development, and they're just sprouting up in every little nook and cranny that we have. I mean, Beverly also mentioned Ebbetsfield and the buildings over that side that's also going up, which is towering just as much as Ebbetsfield. So when you get the chance, Suki, you and Suki can set up some sort of meeting and come up with an agenda that once ever so often we have a joint meeting, so both committees can collaborate, because it's almost the same initiative, that it's just different as far as the zoning and the housing is concerned. But a lot of the zoning here are really for in favor of the height.
Thanks, Yanela. That's really helpful.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Suki, I don't know if you have anything to add there. Hi, thanks for joining.
Suki.
Hi, Yanela. I'd
Suki,
be
go
happy to
ahead.
hold a joint meeting.
Yes.
If I forget to reach out to you, Erin, hopefully Khalid, the office will connect us. They're very helpful with the administrative stuff, but I'm happy to do that. I think Yanela gave a good summary. Basically, City of Yes is proposing an enormous amount of density citywide, and I think it's going to particularly impact our district. Most people live on blocks like Unella, which is R6,
Yes.
and those blocks are slated for something like a 60% density increase in exchange for affordable housing, which they really haven't defined yet. They're suggesting it could center around 80% of AMI or perhaps lower, but there would be income averaging. So some could be higher than 80%, some could be lower. But I think a key thing to note is that this is a voluntary incentive. So you're not going to see so even though it's a citywide amendment, you're not going to see developers taking up this incentive in the highest income communities like Park Slope, for example, where median income is $150,000 a year, they're just losing too much money, right? You're going to see it in lower income communities where that $80,000 level is, you know, above market rate, essentially. So, you know, it equates to just an upzoning for lower income communities is all I can say. And it's massive. It's massive. I mean, you know, between our already, you know, inappropriate zoning and the new city of Yes, potentially, you know, we could double the number of housing units in this community. And you know, we have to think about what the impact of that would be. That's really overwhelming. I do not think that that is the intention, but that is what is being, you know, proposed.
You are absolutely correct, Suki, and that is the issue for me as well. The ramification behind the actions. Now, after all of this go up and all this space is here, and then you include all these people, then what? Now we're overcrowded, we're saturated, we're gonna, you know, be like a third world country, everybody just crammed together walking down the street.
Right, but Suki, if you look at it's East New York Avenue and Mass, it's East New York Avenue and Utica. Right there, there was a car that the car lot that they sold cars to. Now that's also empty. And when I tell you, it's like a little 2x4, and they're looking now that would be a fourth building in that little area that's going to be put right there. And when we look when you're walking in our development and you look at the front of the building, all you can see it's the 3 towers up there that's towered behind the homes that have been there for years. You know, so it's a little disconcerting that we're going to be like kind of blocked in, but I'm at a loss as to how to stop, because it's looked like the train has left the station and there's no stop in between.
Thanks,
I
Vinod.
can't believe there's a new building coming, might be in that little spot. That's going to be crazy.
Yep. So, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Suki, sorry.
I don't want to take up too much time, but I just want to mention something because I think it's important to housing. Esteban, who's from the Crown Heights Tenants Union, and also Mia, our district office staff, were pointing out that what they're seeing is where buildings have additional density, that they're allowed to build more. Sometimes it's enough to demolish, and demolition is a major way that landlords can remove rent stabilization. So they want to do this if the zoning allows them to do it. And that's something that could be part of City of Yes. But even if it's not enough extra density to demolish the building, when they add a significant amount, like if they're adding a couple, apparently like near the district office, they're adding a couple of floors on top of the building. But first, they empty out the building. So they emptied out the businesses on the ground floor, and they'd emptied out the upper floors, or the tenants on the upper floors earlier. And so that's a concern as well. So that they're emptying buildings and demolishing them to get rid of rent stabilization.
Rod. And I'm going to cut this off in 5 minutes.
All right. I'll make it real quick, very quick. Okay. So with Vital Brooklyn and all these housing developments that are going up, I have a serious concern with the overcrowding. But the main thing I have is concerned with the lack of police response that we get to incidents that occur, right? On record, we have the 71st Precinct has the slowest or the lowest reporting rate as far as with incidents. You know, it's all documented. So just yesterday, someone, well, 2 individuals, they came from the homeless shelter over at Kingsborough. They broke into a car over here. All right. So I chased one of them down. Couldn't chase 2, I chased 1. I don't recommend anybody do what I did. And I got half of the stuff back that they took out of the person's car. If you're bringing in more and more people to increase the density, and we do not have the facilities in order to handle the population, it's going to be a problem, right? And right now, as far as the parking situation, there are people that are already blocking the curbs with cones.
Yes.
So what's going to happen? That's going to be an altercation waiting to happen. So you can't put up all of these buildings in an already densely populated area without looking at the infrastructure, the services, and all the other things that come along with it. And there are going to be problems. And I'm just talking from basic boots on the ground observations.
And you're so right, because where we are on this side next to the Vital Brooklyn project that's going on, the issue is with the hospital, they're emptying, and the people living there in the parking, they're absolutely going to be a problem with all these people coming in and absolutely no parking.
So,
Agreed.
yeah, this is really helpful feedback. This is stuff that I want to discuss for the housing resolution after we get to 418 Rogers. Like I said, I'm going to cut this part of the agenda off at 7:25. But Jay, you're next in the queue.
Thank you. I just wanted to just present the idea, a request in terms of, for the housing committee, if we could have a concept of sort of neighborhood deference. And the idea of neighborhood deference is, everybody knows in the city council, when something comes up, they always follow the local city council person, so that the local city council person who represents the district, let's say in Brooklyn, the whole city council follows her. So you don't have somebody from Staten Island, different neighborhood, who basically votes on something to where the people are affected. So within this committee, I would ask that each neighborhood take a look at the other neighborhoods and respect the other people in terms of member deference. So if you have a project at 418 Rogers Avenue, I would ask that maybe people from East Flatbush, like we have from East Flatbush, Winella Perry and Augustine Blackwell and Menachem Manapur, and we have Rod Herbert, that if they will listen to what the people in, let's say, Prospect Lefferts Gardens by 418 Rogers, and follow what their wishes are, to respect one neighborhood respects another. Similarly, I would ask the people who live in west of Franklin Avenue, like people like Janice Granum and Diane Wheelless and the chair, that if you live west of Franklin, when an issue comes up, please respect the other neighborhood that's going to be affected. And I'm talking about Vital Brooklyn, that if somebody has an issue, and if they come to the board and if they say, could you take the issue and can you give us a resolution? We shouldn't have people from one part of town, one neighborhood, that says, we're not affected by this because we live by the park, and say it's okay to put homeless shelters in 15-story buildings in East Flatbush. So I ask the people on this, respect the individual members on the committee, follow their votes, and it could be a wonderful thing of like mutual self-defense. Each neighborhood, and final other points, Utica Avenue, which is the east side of Utica Avenue, from East New York Avenue all the way down to the street right below Clarkson. It's going to be 9-story buildings. CB 17 is going to rezone Utica Avenue to where it's going to be residential for 9 stories, commercial on the first floor. They've asked city planning to do it, and that doesn't even include what the city of Yes will increase it. So you're going to see 10-story residential on the west side of Utica Avenue. Think about that in terms of the parking. Thank you.
And seeing that you're not a resident, I'm curious where we should place you in that neighborhood deference.
Sure. So in terms of my opinion and my vote does not count. What I say doesn't count. I want the individual people who live there to be respected and to vote. I'm simply an advocate. I have strong ties with the East Flatbush community over there. I'm a member of the Kingsbrook Jewish Temple there. So that's my interest. But I just want the people to be respected. And I do not want to see one neighborhood mothball this subject and sell out the other neighborhood. That's been going on this committee for the past 2 years. past 3 years, in which people from one side of town sell out the other people on the other side of town. And it's okay to put massive buildings that take away parking and put homeless in one section. But if it happened to somebody who's the head of a building on the other side of town, they would say something and they don't like it. Okay.
Thanks.
20 years ago, this CB9
Like I said,
against.
it's now 7:26, so I'm gonna cut this part of the agenda off.
Okay, so let me finish my sentence before you cut me off. Okay, let me just finish my sentence. My sentence is that this community board voted against 681 Clarkson in 1998. They voted against it. 681 Clarkson when they wanted to expand it, and CB17 voted against it. And now they've been mothballing this for 2 years on something that requires an environmental impact statement. The
Thanks,
games
Jay.
have to stop. The games have to stop.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'm now going to turn it over to 418 Rogers. I know you gave an in-depth presentation last time. I'd ask that you give an abbreviated presentation and we can open it up for questions. We'll give this, I'd like to spend about 15 minutes on this if we can. Go ahead.
Hi everyone. I'm Lindsay and JC. I'm gonna share my screen if that's all right. Unfortunately, at the larger community meeting, we weren't able to talk with our presentation, and I thought that would have been very helpful. Instead, everyone was distributed packets with our presentation printed, and so I just want to sort of focus on some things that I didn't have time to get into that I think are very important. My building at 418, everyone can see that, yeah? Okay. My building at 418 Rogers, I'm the architect of, I'm the owner. I've been working on the renovation of this building for a little over a year. I want to point out the front of the building, which is not the thing in question, but I want to point out what we've worked with Landmarks to create for the front and the back of the building, even though the back of the building is a thing that we're discussing. You can see from the left the tax photo, a 1940s tax photo. In the middle, the picture of how the building looked like when I bought it in 2020. And then the image on the right is after my renovation of the building. So you can see that I worked with Landmarks pretty closely to make this building more contextual with the fabric of Rogers Avenue not only between Sterling and Lefferts, but I took historic detailing from other buildings further down on Rogers, bringing it back to this area because that was sort of void. Any of that historical character was sort of void of any of the storefronts on my block. And that's something that Landmarks responded very favorably to. And as you can see, I power washed all the white off the brick, and now it looks pretty continuous down the block. And the storefront, I don't have signage up there. I have signage on my glass from my design firm that's in the storefront space. And then I rent the 2 apartments above. So you can see what I've done to the front of the building, working very close with Landmarks to yield this effect. In the back of the building, I mostly just cleaned up the back of the building, and I want to sort of explain to you the issues that I had during construction that I couldn't do exactly what I had planned out to do and what Landmarks approved me for. I had some issues with trying to restore the parge coat, the existing parge coat on the back of the building. And I had to make some difficult decisions about what I could and couldn't do, what I had the time to do, didn't have the time to do, what I had the budget to do, didn't have the budget to do. All these things were things I was thinking about. I was also thinking about what is the most contextual decision, so like the front of the building, I could, be consistent with the fabric of the neighborhood. How can I do that on the back of the building as well? What I ended up doing was putting this You can see for the third picture, this stucco coating. It is a breathable coating, which Landmarks likes to see. It is just something that I wasn't approved to do at a staff level. And I want to just be like specific about that. It's not illegal for me to do this, but it just couldn't be approved at the staff level. It just needs further approval from the community board and from the LPC, who I have a hearing with next month. But you can see from images that I am not sticking out like a sore thumb in the neighborhood. I'm blending in very well. And I understand the impulse for the, for the community board to, slap my wrists and tell me like, you didn't do this according to how you should have done it. And I should have stopped construction, gone through this process in the middle of construction and waited for the approval and then proceeded with the work to do the stucco after I got approved for it. But that didn't happen. And that's on me. And I take full responsibility for that. That is just something that happened and I'm deeply sorry about, but I do feel that the results that my decisions yielded was very much in favor of preserving the consistency of the fabric of the neighborhood. So I don't want to get into technical details with you because I think it's just, just not the point. I think that's something that I'm going to save for the Landmark hearing. I just want to emphasize to you that I'm an architect in your neighborhood and I'm doing things in your neighborhood to make it look better and to make the experience of where I am on Rogers Avenue a pleasant one, something nice to look at, something for the community. I don't think it's offensive, and I know that I didn't. And when I did something on the back of the building, that's not in view. That doesn't have the same view as the front of the building. That is something that is really only seen by maybe some neighbors from the back of their house, and what they're looking at is pretty consistent to every other building back there.
Said well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if there's any questions, I would love to keep talking about this and get your opinions on this and your support.
Thank you. I'll open up for questions. Jay.
Yes, my question is, are you guys looking for a resolution for like approval?
It's more like retroactive approval. This is a process that we have to do before we face the LPC commission next month. And we actually did the process earlier in January, but there wasn't enough attendance in the January meeting. That's why we got kicked back here for February. But we are essentially getting or attempting to get retroactive approval.
Rod.
So I know I'm not part of this committee, but I thanks for the presentation. It was very well done, put together and whatnot. And I think you did a great job with the building. So that's just my input there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Menachem.
I think Lindsay did really a wonderful job. The front is really looking beautiful and really she did a service to the block. And I go by that block all the time. I drive up Rogers, and I'm a contractor myself, and I appreciate the quality of work. And and the back definitely should not be an issue for anyone. If someone has an issue with it, it's not something that should be anyone's concern. What she didn't do anything unsafe. She just did stucco the building and it looks like a very professional manner. Especially she been doing everything, trying to engage the city in whatever she can. I definitely don't think she should have any issue, and good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Menachem. Yunella?
Yes, I concur with everyone else. I think that it really, the back of the building, and it really looks great. Congratulations, it's beautiful. I don't think it's a lot different from the original that I'm looking at. That would be the 2020 picture. It's not that far-fetched from the original. So I think it's great.
Thank you.
I think my one question is what factored into you not going through the process when you needed to and in advance rather than coming to us 3 years later, or a year, I guess it's, yeah, a couple years later, after it's already been done.
Well, during construction, I mean, when we actually got to the back of the building, it wasn't so far. It was just in the middle of last year. It was one of the final things that we were doing. I didn't know, to be honest with you, I didn't know the process so well. I don't have any other excuse. I know what Landmarks was looking for, and I was so focused on researching things that would be approvable by them, but I had a time constraint, and I thought if I made the best possible decision, I didn't know that this would come back at me.
Menachem?
I just want to, as a contractor in the neighborhood, one thing I want to add, I know, Lindsay is, the process of doing any construction in the city is a very lengthy and expensive and extensive process, and it involves so many parties, architects, expediters, all kind of licensing individuals, and extensive fees that I'm involved in, on a daily basis. So whatever we can do on this board, I would definitely recommend if we can pass a resolution or something, giving our support for Lindsay, to be able to continue and to move on with what she needs to do. If there's something that we can do here, I would really appreciate it. I think that Lindsay would be really, we can pass a resolution if somebody can, or I can do it, or whatever is needed to be done.
Yeah, what I'll say is, I believe the next step is that we need to approve their application retroactively in this committee. I think it then goes to a vote at the general board meeting again in February, and then they can go to their LPC meeting in March. So that's the process, is that we as a housing committee need to approve their proposal, essentially.
Can we have a motion in support, something like that?
A motion of approval. Yeah, a vote to approve, essentially, approve the work.
Saying, could we have a motion today to support her and approve her?
Yes, that's what we're planning on doing once everyone's everyone who wants to can speak. Suki.
I just want to say again, I concur. You did a great job in the front, Lindsay. I'm very pleased to see that. I showed the photos of the back to people in my historic district, and they basically shrugged and said, it's the back. I think I said this at the executive meeting last time, but generally the non-primary facades are much less closely regulated by Landmarks than the front. So covering the front with stucco would not have been okay. And I know Lindsay knows that, but we were not bothered aesthetically by this. It's not a major addition or subtraction or anything like that. Yeah, I think it's fine.
That's helpful, Suki. Thank you. I'll go to Lisa.
Hi, I also concur. I think it looks great. I'm wondering what is required by Landmarks. What would they want to you to do in the back? Just put concrete or like a concrete skim or something?
We originally got approved to repoint the back brick, which would have meant taking off the parge coat. And when we realized we couldn't have gotten it off with like LPC approved means, it would have been too invasive to the brick to get the parge coat off. So that's where all this started. But we realized, in our conversations with them after the fact, when we asked them, they would have approved a patch and repair of the parge coat. And we're still trying to wrap our heads around exactly how that works, what products to use, how to get a uniform look to it, because we had to do some work to the window openings to get these different kinds of windows, and we didn't enlarge or do anything. We didn't change the size of the openings, but it was just it was difficult to really understand after the fact exactly how we could have
achieve what they wanted.
achieved it.
Yeah, at the staff level, they would have wanted to do maybe something called a mineral stain. But because we use something a little newer, like the technology is newer, we would have had to gone through this process at the time when we faced this issue. So that's why it's more like a retroactive approval. It's like we would have had to do this, like six to 8 months ago, but we would have had to stop construction. That's where we had a mistake, unfortunately.
Yeah, I get it, but I think it looks great. I think it brings value to the neighborhood. Front end.
Thanks, Lisa. I can't tell if your hand is up from a pass thing or up for this. I'm sorry.
Pass.
Okay, that's what I thought. I can't.
Sorry, I
That's
got
okay.
it.
It's okay. Okay, great. Well, it sounds like we're ready for a vote. Can I get a second motion, to proceed with the vote?
Second, Yanela.
Great. Are we okay doing a vote based on consent, or do we need to go through the roll call? Okay. Can I get a second for I believe it's called, I'm still learning these rules, I'm sorry. For consent-based vote, is that?
I'll second.
Thank you, Augustine. Okay, I'm gonna say, all in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
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 Great.
Aye.
Is there anyone who would like to flag or say nay? Okay, great. You have a vote, Lindsay, and JC.
Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
pass with unanimous consent. We will pass this on to the general board meeting again, I believe. Call it, unless I'm mistaken. Does this has to go back to the general board?
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll pass it back to the general board, and then we hope to have your approval so you can go to LPC in March.
Thank you. We really appreciate this. I know this was a lot of FaceTime for you guys.
And I know it's been a lot of time for you as well, so thank you for coming back. It was important that the committee hear this out, and obviously we didn't have enough members last time. We didn't have quorum last time. Great, so let's move on. Seeing as you guys stuck around for the last meeting, if you would like to stick around, great, you're welcome to. If not, thank you very much. And yeah, so I want to move on to what I think is the main business of a housing committee resolution. Thank you. This is I think this is a main goal of ours for this term, which goes through June. I would love to start compiling sort of a draft resolution that we can, say, hopefully vote on at our next meeting. That might be an ambitious goal, but something that I would love to put together with the help of the board office. And I think we have a lot of material here that we've already discussed. Suki, I'm glad you're here because I know you've put forth a lot of resolutions. So any ideas here yourself would be great. But yeah, what I feel like I've spent a lot of the first few months just really listening. Obviously, I'm a resident here myself, and for the record, I actually just moved to Prospect Lefferts. And I was in different part of the district before. And so, you know, so I'll just say is I'm obviously a resident, but I've also spent a lot of time listening because I know that there's a lot of different concerns in the district. And, you know, I think one of the main themes and concerns that I've heard that I see every day is not just the amount of construction and the density that's happening in our district, unique to our district in a lot of ways, but the questions around the lack of infrastructure and inability to support the construction that's happening at the services level, at the infrastructure level, at the transportation level, parking, safety, and everything that goes with it. And so what I was hoping to spend a little bit of time doing today is to really create a list of these concerns that can then be put into a resolution that we propose, and then again use as a way to bring to elected officials and really calcify all of our concerns into one place to empower our city reps and our state reps to do better. That's my brief summary. I would, in terms of what I've heard, I would add that, you know, as a renter, I basically can barely afford to live in this district anymore. And am getting priced out with my family. That's the case for a lot of people with young families, is that they're having to just leave the district altogether. You know, and so it's a combination of a lot of different things in terms of affordability, but then also in terms of density and the amount of housing that's going in without seeming oversight in a lot of different ways. Other things that we would want to make sure are front and center, or how did I encapsulate that? Yeah, and any other thoughts, questions, ideas?
Yeah, I have one.
How
Hold on, I
can
lost it.
we get our elected officials to be involved in the conversation? I think that's important because the root of all of this is really stemming from, you know, former and maybe current, I'm not sure, elected officials. So as residents, how can we engage them into this dialogue that we're having? It's not just as representative in the community, on the community board for other residents that live here, that depends on us to really spearhead and represent them in some way. How can we now, as a committee, work towards engaging these elected officials? I think that's one way. Thanks.
Sorry, you think what's one way? So my proposal was that we put the resolution together and we use that as a calling card to engage our electeds, to sort of put together a comprehensive platform of the community board around housing issues. But are you saying engage electeds in the creation of that resolution?
Good. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Yanela. Rod.
Okay, so what I think what is not, well, it's not happening. What is not happening is that a holistic view of the neighborhood is not being looked at as far as, what abandoned lots are there that could be, where construction can be performed, what is being proposed, right? It's sort of being piecemeal, and that is a concern. So right now we have about what, if numbers are right, about what, 1,100 beds that are being constructed or slated for construction, I'll say, poor choice of terms. All right. Right next to me is a 33,000 square foot lot. Right? Has this been taken into consideration with proposed density? Right. So that's what I mean by taking a holistic view of what are the potentials. In addition, with the fair share audit that was recently put out there was one sentence in there. I'm going to paraphrase it. I don't have it in front of me. With regards to the Kingsborough project, that you cannot commingle homeless people, all right, those in shelters, with senior citizens. Right now, there's going to be a senior population that's there, and you're going to have the homeless shelter that's there, and you're going to have the MICA shelter that is there. The MICA shelter is what scares me. And if it doesn't scare anybody here, then they don't know what a MICA shelter is. All right. So
Can you define it? I don't know what it is. I'm sorry.
that's a center or housing for the mentally ill and chemically addicted people. Right.
Right.
So in other words, they have issues. Right. So again, I go back to the police, right? 71st Precinct has the slowest response time throughout all of Brooklyn. We have a MICA shelter, a homeless shelter. We have an audit that identifies a finding where you cannot commingle homeless people with senior citizens. They broke into a car here just the other day. All right. Again, looking at the whole holistic picture, looking at infrastructure, services. They're not looking at everything. They want to, what's being happening, I read everything, is that everything's being piecemeal to make it seem like it'll be very appealing. But as I said, I live in this district, and I can say that in the most southern eastern part of Community Board 9, it operates holistically different than the rest of the district. We have the most abandoned vehicles. We have the most commercial overnight parking than any place else, and all the other issues that come. And no one is looking at this.
That is true, Rod. I think we are disproportionately stigmatized with a lot of the unwanted I would say residents in some areas of our district, and apparently as residents here, even though we are contributing and tax-paying citizens and we have the same elected officials, we don't get the same treatment. So I think it's time that because now it's oversaturated, where we are now going to be with this great density. I think something needs to give. We've done our fair share.
And one thing I'll just add on, then I'm finished. Okay. So right there at Kingsborough, a lot of the residents there at the homeless shelter, they have scooters and they do their DoorDash, Uber Eats and everything like that. All right. Right now, there are a total of 47 e-bikes out there. And I know because I counted each and every one of them. Right. They're all chained to the fence. The rendering that I saw of the new development to be built there does not have a fence. So where are those 47 e-bikes going to go? On the open community space that they have there? And then all of these bikes here, since they get them at a cut rate price, because, they're all, foreign made and whatnot, quality control issues, and they all have lithium batteries. There is a huge problem now with fires with regards to lithium batteries. Now you have 47 that are there. Where are they going to be housed? Where are they going to be charged? Are they going to charge it in the apartments? Where are they going to be kept?
Thanks, Rod. I'm gonna go to Menachem and then Lisa.
Okay, so I think by now we kind of all, there's enough people who understand the issues with the Vital Brooklyn project, and we heard so much about it from the beginning of the meeting, from Rod, from Unella, and in so many past meetings in the public meeting in the public school here. And I, as a resident, I live, not far from Rod. I live closer to the project than resolution. I want to make a motion for resolution disapproving the New York State Empire State Developments, Vital Brooklyn, Kingsborough, based upon the following 3 reasons. Number one, like we all spoke about, the parking concerns. There are 0 parking spots for 1,090 residential units and a 364-bed homeless shelter. The 14 on-site parking spots are for the supermarkets only. Number two, we're talking about out of scale buildings, 150 tower and overshadow over 3-story residential homes. Third issue is oversaturation of social services, building a 326 unit supportive housing complex, plus rebuilding a 364-bed homeless shelter in a neighborhood already oversaturated with social services for the homeless. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, good. I'm not a committee member. I would have seconded.
I seconded, Yanela.
Thank you. And we've been talking about these issues. We've spent so much time talking about the back of the building at 318 Rogers, which is going to affect nobody, but this project that we've been talking about and is going to affect so many people and going to change the neighborhood. And we spoke about the details. We don't need to, discuss about it more. So could we take a vote on this?
I believe, I just want to say, I don't actually call it, I don't know, but I thought it was the chair that had to propose these things, but if I'm,
So
that's
it could be brought up by committee members,
okay, that's fine. I just wish it'd been discussed beforehand, because that's not what I thought we were doing right now. So I
figured if we discuss. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
You were kind of going in and out. Can you restate your proposal? Because I didn't hear it. You were cutting out.
My proposal is to make a motion for a resolution disapproving the New York State Empire State Developments Vital Brooklyn Kingsborough project based on the reasons that I explained. So we asked for a second, we got a second, and I want to see if we can vote on it.
I just need, for the minutes, I just need you to state it again. I can go back, but just for right now.
Sure, I can state it again. Okay, so I'll state it again. I want to make a motion for a resolution disapproving New York State Empire State Developments Vital Brooklyn Kingsborough project based on the following 3 reasons. There's many reasons, but the following 3 reasons that stand out. Number one, there's a major parking concern. We spoke about this many times. There are 0 parking spots for 1,090 residential units. And in addition to 364-bed homeless shelter, there's 14 on-site parking spots are for the supermarket. That's the first issue. The second issue I want to bring up, we're talking about out-of-scale building. 150-foot tall buildings, which will tower and overshadow over the whole neighborhood, all the residents, and over the other housing, which is all 2- and 3-story homes. That's the second issue. Third issue, we're talking about oversaturation issue. Oversaturation of social services, building a 326 unit supportive housing complex, plus rebuilding, that's in addition to rebuilding the 364-bed homeless shelter in a neighborhood already oversaturated with social services for the homeless. So these are major issues that we spoke about, and I don't think we need to get into the detail, but I figured if we spend so much time discussing 318 Rogers, 418 Rogers. That's something that's important, but we definitely need to give this more attention because this is a time-sensitive issue. And that's why I asked for a motion for the resolution, and we got the second, and that's why I'm asking for a vote on it. Thank you.
Who's second? It was Yanela that seconded that.
Yeah.
So now it just goes to the vote.
Okay, all in favor? Say aye.
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 Any against? Let's do that.
I'm a little confused.
Please, Jan.
For clarity reasons, the resolution will go on to the community board to approve, right? Or disapprove?
Yeah,
To vote on, correct?
correct.
I was of the understanding that the project has already started. So, and then somebody told me that the community board doesn't have any jurisdiction on that. So I'm very confused.
Wrong, you're wrong. Hasn't
On
started.
which part, Jay?
This is Kingsborough Psych that the resolution is upon. So New York State, Empire State, Kingsborough Psych, it has not started. It's in the middle of the environmental impact statement review. After this, Attorney Letitia James has to sign off on this. A community board resolution would be very helpful. Hasn't
Is
started.
this the Vita Brooklyn, right?
Vital Brooklyn, Kingsborough. This is 681 Clarkson Avenue at the corner of Clarkson and Albany. The one that started for the other Vital Brooklyn projects were located on New York Avenue and in Clarkson. That's the one that already started the construction. There's a third project that's located by Kingsborough Jewish. This is 681 Clarkson, Kingsborough Psych, and this has been through the Housing Committee and the community boards for years. Lots of information. I think we're ready for a vote. People could either say they're for it, they're against it, or they abstain. If it passes here, it goes to the executive committee, and then it'll go to the final board.
Does that clarify for you, Janice?
Somewhat. I'm gonna do some more reading.
Okay. Do you have what is your vote? Do you vote to abstain then?
I'm gonna abstain.
Okay.
You can run through the roll call, Aaron, and just do it
Okay.
that way.
Sure. Okay, so Augustine for or against the resolution.
It's good. I'm for.
Okay, Renisha,
Abstain.
Yankee's not here. Yunella,
Yes, for.
Janice. Oh, you abstain. Menachem, Diane.
Yeah, for me, I'm a little bit confused. I kind of got this mixed up with the other project that we previously discussed.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm kind of wondering, are we trying to stop the project? Is that it? What is it that you're looking for? I mean, I've heard the information that was given, the outer scale building, something about a supermarket, a major parking issue, oversaturation, which is happening everywhere. You know, it's happening everywhere. If I can tell you some stories about where I live on President Street, and Jay, I heard you earlier, and this is not to, you know, to make anyone feel bad or make anyone think that we're not interested or I'm not interested in your neighborhood, okay? Because being on the community board, I know that I have brought lots of issues out about what is going on here in Crown Heights. And so many things have gone, in my opinion, wrong when you can take a 2 8-story home, and then you can build an 8-story apartment building. No one seems to care about it until it affects them, because I know I brought this to the board some years ago. If you came on my block, you would see what they have done. I don't think, in all of the homes that have been sold, every last one is now have been erected into a maybe 4 or 5, or how about an 8-story apartment building right across the street from me, where it used to be nothing other than a lot where everyone would park their cars, because yes, there is a oversaturation in terms of being able to park your car anywhere. The oversaturation, as far as I'm concerned, is, with all of the bikes and all of this other stuff that's taking up all of the parking spots. So for me, with this situation that we're talking about, I really don't know very much about it, maybe because I missed the last meeting, or maybe because all of the information was not presented. So for me, my vote is abstain unless I can get some more information. That's how I'm going to vote.
Can I provide some information?
Can I provide some clarity, just because I think it's fair that we're talking about two different resolutions at this point, and this resolution kind of, I appreciate the passion, Menachem, and it was not originally on the agenda. So I just want to provide some context, because we need a couple more votes to get a majority. So I think it's important. So Vital Brooklyn has obviously been a conversation that we've been having for a while. I started on this committee in September. I imagine it's happened before that. I know it was happening last year. And so, I think I would say that the summary of what Menachem has said in terms of the Vital Brooklyn Kingsborough project being very accurate in terms of the community feedback that we've received, and what's been heard at the what did they call it, the town hall with Cunningham's office, etc. So I think that those three things, parking, tall buildings, oversaturation of social services, is a good representation of those issues. I think, to your point, Diane, there's some bigger issues at play in the district, right? Whether it's constructing 4 to 8-story buildings in the more western part in Crown Heights, whether it's the overdevelopment in other parts, in PLG and Wingate and East Flatbush, etc. And so, I think what I had originally proposed was a separate resolution to better encapsulate all of those housing issues that we could use as a way to bring to electeds. I think that what's being proposed right now is a second resolution. So now we'll use as a platform for the housing committee and for CB9. So I just wanted to clarify that, because we wound up talking about two different things. I'm going to go to Unella just because I think she's responding to me.
Yes, because I think it's two different things, and I understand if we do one big lump sum and lump everything together, I think some things are going to get glossed over or lost. So if we're going to be specific, Vital Brooklyn, not only does it affect my development, but it also, the fact that we've lost the hospital, it's a whole different kettle of fish with what's happening over this side of the neighborhood and what the residents here have lost. So now we have lost the emergency room.
They lost their pharmacy first.
We've gone with the pharmacy. Now downstate is now in jeopardy also of the hospital leaving. So on this end of the district, we've lost a lot more. So I'd rather, and I understand what you're saying, Maz, but the Vital Brooklyn should stand by itself, because it does not, for other areas of the district, it doesn't encompass all the other issues that we're having on this side.
Okay, and you vote?
Unella already voted. Okay, thank you, Unella. That's generally how I was taking this approach. I just wanted to clarify that because so we've got the Vital Brooklyn resolution now on the table, and then we can I think we can talk separately about the more comprehensive one. And just to be clear, Unella, I wasn't saying a resolution about West Crown Heights. I was using that as an example of the fact that there's a myriad of issues related to housing and it's affecting different neighborhoods differently.
Right. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. But that it's all part of a broader issues that are related. Jay, I'm going to give you 1 minute because I want to move on from this.
Thank you. Just very quickly, just to tell people, if you abstain, you're voting as a no vote. An abstention counts as a no. So just so everybody knows, if you abstain, counts as a no vote. The second, I asked the chair originally, thank you for recognizing me for this and giving me the time. I asked you originally, do you believe in the concept of member deference? The first meeting, Ms. Mazursky, I said, do you believe in member deference where people from one neighborhood, like East Flatbush, can decide issues that happen in East Flatbush, and the other people from other neighborhoods, like by Medgar Evans, will follow the people who live in a different neighborhood when it comes time to vote. The first meeting you said, I agree with that. So I hope if you're the deciding vote, you'll say, even though I live in a different neighborhood, I'll respect the people's opinions of this neighborhood. Rod says he's for it.
Thank you.
Menachem says he's for it.
That's 1 minute.
And the people who voted,
you.
everybody who abstained, let me just finish my sentence. Everyone who abstained so far, they don't live in East Flatbush. Every single person who abstained, they don't live in East Flatbush, so they
That
don't
is
care.
correct, Jay, but
That's correct,
I
Jack.
beg to differ with you. I beg to differ with you. I will tell you that the same problems, the parking, okay, the high rises going on over here that no one can afford unless you're making $200,000. The buildings are going up. No one can afford it. So if it cannot be a unified, it shouldn't be an east-west thing. And I think what Mazzy is saying is that she was looking for a broader resolution that would encompass the issues that are affecting east, west, north, and south, CB9. Because right now, this is looking like the east-west thing, and that's not unity. And I
You're
understand
avoiding
what
the
you're
issue.
saying about deference, but what needs to be put forth in a resolution needs to be a commonality that affects everyone in CB9. It can't be just something that's going on over here and
One
not on
neighborhood
the other
respects
side.
another
Thank you,
neighborhood.
Jay. Thank you,
You're not,
Jay.
it's a different, you don't
Thank
live
you,
near a homeless
Jay.
shelter.
Jay, thank you.
Yes,
You
I
don't live near
do.
900 homeless.
Yes, I
I know
do.
exactly where you live.
Jay,
Yes,
thank you.
and you should know where the shelter is. As a matter of fact, I'm surrounded by 2 of them. So I would tell you that if we're going to do something, it needs to be unified, and it cannot be the divide and conquer thing. And we all are going through the same problems with the parking, with the density. Over here, they've got high-rise buildings that you can't afford. Okay, on the east side, they've got buildings that probably everyone can afford. So we all have problems in our neighborhoods. The point of what needs to happen for resolution, it needs to be a commonality so that everyone can come to the table and say, this is something that affects me, you, and everybody else. And Jay, I understand what you're saying. You're saying, well, why don't we just have deference to the other side? Well, that's not unity. That's divide and conquer. That doesn't work.
Can I just say something? It's not, my opinion is that it's not just divide and conquer, and it's not just one area against the other. And you're right, we're all in it together. What my take on what Maz was saying is that we're going to do a whole map of each of the area in our district, all the district. I didn't get the impression, and I'm speaking for my district as well as every other district here, because what affects me affects everybody else. We are now all in the same jar, okay? But so I understand what she was saying as far as getting the whole district and each area, what is happening in each district. That's one. The only
Correct.
right. The only issue is that we did have a resolution for what's happening down by Kingsborough Psychiatric. That's part and parcel of the systemic issues that we're having, and it's not isolated, and it shouldn't be separated either. So it all is, we as a group and as the housing committee, it's wherever we represent, we're all here tonight, and that's everything should be representative of everybody who's on this committee.
So then that would be all the CB9.
Housing committee. That's what it is.
That would be all the communities of CB9.
I'm gonna let
housing committee.
I'm gonna let Menachem, Suki, and Suki speak for 1 minute each. I'm gonna summarize where I think we're at, and we're gonna move this forward. So Menachem, Suki, yep.
So the reason why I brought up this issue, because this is the most time-sensitive issue. I mean, this, like, we know a lot of projects started already around Utica Crescent. There's a massive project starting. This is about to be the next thing to happen. So that's why it's not near Prospect Park or near Franklin are not important. This is, the other projects passed already. This is a project that we can still do an impact. So everyone's vote is important, and that's number one. Number two, what the resolution is also, just to explain, we're trying to have the state to review it again and get the input of everybody. That's what the resolution is in favor of. We're not saying totally stop it. We're saying review it, discuss it with the residents, get the state to get the boots on the ground and talk to the people who it affects, and not just leave us in the dark. So that's, if that helps understand, if that can help people make the decision about voting. So, and I hope that we can vote on this.
Thank you.
And we're also opposed to it. Definitely. We're definitely opposed to it. But the first thing is we need to review the state and the city to review the effect of all this.
Thank you. Suki, 1 minute.
I know I'm not a member of the committee, but I would suggest that maybe you combine Aaron Mazurski's resolution with Menachem's to say that District 9 has all of these concerns, and then have a separate paragraph calling out Vital Brooklyn, because it is one of the largest developments in total in the district. Although I will say next month, my committee is hearing a proposal for an upzoning for almost 500 units on Franklin Avenue. So this kind of thing is happening throughout the district. And I think that we do need to call it out as a general problem. That said, what exactly is the deadline? Because I think the hearing for the EIS closed January 8th. So what is the next step on this? Where do you want this to go is what I'm saying. Because the other thing that you could do is, right, just say, like, as opposed to we oppose what ESD is doing with Vital Brooklyn, you could say these are CB9's concerns: parking, height of the buildings, the density, the concentration of supportive housing, et cetera, et cetera. Those would be my two suggestions, but it's up to you guys. I'm not a member.
Correct, and also the context of the buildings. So what you said, Suki, I agree with you 100%, that if there's any resolution to be approved, it needs to be more holistic in terms of the overall aspects of CB9 community. So that's a really good point. And I think, Maz, that's what you had started off with for a resolution, but it kind of split into two ways in the road.
Yeah, that is what I was proposing. You know, what I'll just say to sum up is that, you know, what I see as a resident of this district, is that that Kingsborough is the biggest, is the biggest project right now, but it is indicative of the same issues happening everywhere from literally end to end of the district. I just moved from a building with construction of like a 12-story building right outside of it. You can't go down Franklin Avenue without seeing, it's like every block. My new block has construction. It's like every block has massive construction, massive density, parking issues, all of these things. Kingsborough is for sure one of the most acute, biggest, and something that needs to take action. We need to take action on quickly. My hope was that we could put a resolution together this month. We could include it in the Vital Brooklyn. Included in that is the Vital Brooklyn Kingsborough conversation that I think Menachem very aptly summed up. And then we have a holistic resolution that encapsulates these main issues around density, infrastructure, services, parking, affordability, and that we put that forward. So that was my original proposal. And I appreciate the feedback, Suki. Okay, I'm gonna go to Rod and then what'd you say?
Can we finish the vote, I mean? And not
Yeah, so
roll call vote.
okay, so I think we need to go back to I think, yeah, I'm trying to, we had 2 more votes. Right now we have 2 abstentions, and then we had Diane and myself on a resolution for Vital Brooklyn. So Diane, would you like to vote on a resolution just for Vital Brooklyn?
I thought maybe I'm wrong, but I thought you said that the proposal was going to be for one resolution that will include.
We were, I know, this is confusing because what happened was I got taken over. So, we have to finish that first vote and then we can go to a second vote if we don't agree, is basically what has to happen. So the first vote that got seconded, and that got put into motion was a vote for a Vital Brooklyn resolution and only a Vital Brooklyn resolution.
And I think that one was the one that I said I would abstain.
Okay.
That was my vote.
Okay. And I'm the last one, and I'm also going to abstain just so that, you know, on the basis that I would like to include it in a broader, in a resolution, for the full district, for the yeah. So with that, I would like to put forth a vote for a resolution for the full district that includes specificity and urgency around a Vital Brooklyn concern. And can I get a second for that vote?
I would second that vote. I would second it. Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna go through roll call again, for that resolution. So Augustine.
Yes.
Renisha.
Yes.
Unella.
Yes.
Janice. Janice. I'll come back to Janice. Menachem.
Oh, hello?
Hi, Janice.
Oh, this is the second resolution.
Yes.
That's going to be more comprehensive and holistic.
Correct.
Similar to what Suki has suggested.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, I'm for that.
Great.
That's more unifying.
Thank you. Menachem.
Are we opposing Vital Brooklyn?
We're not opposing Vital Brooklyn.
Nobody's opposing.
We're not opposing Vital Brooklyn. We're just agreeing, we're putting it into a resolution. And what I said was in my proposal that we will put together a comprehensive resolution for housing concerns for CB9 that includes and has an explicit section that conveys urgency around the issues that you discussed for Vital Brooklyn.
Yeah, I vote, but I would like to see more detail on Vital Brooklyn because that's more imminent of an issue, so. But I'm in favor, yes.
Okay, great. Diane,
My vote is yes.
great, and my vote is yes. Great. So, what I will do is work with the CB9 office. And this was to put these concerns into a resolution. Hopefully we can do this fairly quickly, send it to you all over email for feedback, and that we can vote on in the next meeting, which is what we would have to do for a Vital Brooklyn resolution, would have had to do with Vital Brooklyn resolution regardless. Rod, you had your hand up.
Yeah, so I have, so now that you voted this way, one of the things that I strongly suggest, is that everybody read the audit that was put up by the controller, Brad Lander. He identified significant findings with regards to the operation of the fair share audit and how it was not followed, and how that this area, right, is basically the Fair Share Act was not followed. So what should happen is that you should understand the recommendations that were given, what is their status, and when will they be completed. All right, if you're looking at holistically, right, it's a lot of work than looking at individual projects. So now that you're taking this, I mean, because I've done similar things like this before, and the way it is right now, it's a lot of work. You're going to have to appoint someone to take a look at all of the projects that are going on, right? Keep track of them. How is the land being used? Looking at the area and what's being affected. Right? You cannot look at it, you know, holistically you can, but it's going to be a lot of work. All right, but in order to guide you, take a look at the audit, because the audit looked at the entire city, and follow through with those recommendations and to make sure they're implemented, and what you want are specific time frames on when those recommendations will be addressed.
Okay. Rod, can you send that to me so it can go out to the committee?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I'll send it, I don't have your email address. I'll send it to the district office and I'll have them send it to you.
Thank you. Great. I want to quickly, I know we're almost at time. I want to quickly move to the next agenda item, which is the community fair. The community fair is coming up in June, and there's a question of what would the housing committee like to see at the community fair? Historically, with the community fair, there's been different government offices that are represented there, different community organizations that are there. I want to just take a few quick thoughts so that we can start planning and put those requests into the board office.
How about representative from HCR? Since, they're part of the Vital Brooklyn.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
So Matt, just a quick thing. I mean, I'm listening to everything. I've done a lot of reading on the Vital Brooklyn projects. You know, the Vital Brooklyn is a series of projects, not just one location, right? It's a series of projects. And from what I'm hearing, I don't think that is fully understood amongst the committee that's here. Right? That's just from what I'm hearing. If I'm incorrect, you know, that's fine. I'll fall on my sword, but I don't believe that is what's going on here. So I strongly would suggest that, you know, everybody has to do a reset, take a step back, understand what the projects are, understand the purpose of the Vital Brooklyn project in its entirety, because I'm not getting the strong feeling that everybody has
Rod,
a good working knowledge of the project.
So just be clear, that was my understanding. I think that is, I think that's most people's understanding, because I've seen them at a lot of folks at these meetings, the town hall meetings. We've moved on from that because I want to make sure we are adhering to time. Is there any other requests, thoughts about the community fair that would be helpful to the community?
Yeah, I just would like to add accessibility for seniors. I have a few neighbors who would interested in finding how to make their homes or apartments more accessible.
Great.
And also making the communities a NORC community, where the seniors would be able to stay in their homes and not have to, their homes and apartments, and not have to face exorbitant rents and things like that. So, yeah, I would like the seniors to be addressed, as well as how younger people can get apartments at a decent income, with the income less than 50,000. 60 or 50,000.
Great. Lisa?
I think Jay had his hand up first.
Okay, Jay.
Thank you. I wanted to suggest that the public advocate, Jumaane Williams, be invited this June. Jumaane Williams he has a lot of power, and he was responsible for something called the Racial Impact Study. The Racial Impact Study said how certain communities of color are going to be affected by development. It was passed last year. I'm very curious how he would feel about how Vital Brooklyn may lead to the displacement of many people in East Flatbush who are not going to be happy with the quality of life and not having cars, and they may be displaced. So I wonder where
I just want to be clear that the community fair is a space for resources. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. It's a place where community members can come for resources. I hear you. He was actually at our last board meeting. So, okay.
I'm glad he got out of his fort, but he can come here and he could actually tell people how Vital Brooklyn affects it, because he lives in a fort on an army base, and he's the one who created the homeless bill in June.
I appreciate your suggestion. I've written it down.
The homeless bill,
I've taken note of that, Jay. I appreciate it. Thank you. Suki, Yunella, and then we're gonna move for next steps.
Just with regards to Janice's suggestion on the seniors, I saw an article about like a program for senior home sharing to match seniors with homes or extra rooms with tenants. So maybe if we can get some information distributed about that, that would be nice. There's something else I wanted to say, but I forgot now. Yeah, I'm sure HPD will be there as well. So you might want to ask Nicholas if they're coming, and coordinate with them about information that they might be handing out about their programs or how to apply for housing lotteries. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. Scree and Dree programs for senior and disabled renters. We used to do that a lot in this neighborhood. We would sign people up for Scree and Dree. I don't know if that's still necessary, but it's like an easy thing to do.
Okay, thank you. Yunella?
Yes, Suki stole my idea. I was just gonna say, the lottery, especially for, young people up and coming, just to get the information preparation as to how, with all these housing units that we have going up, how to apply for the lottery. That information.
Great. Lisa, one last quick comment.
Yes, I'd like to expand, to have somebody there that will actually help them apply. I know a lot of the elected officials and the community board, they have someone in their office one day a week or one day a month, but having somebody there that could actually sit with them and, say, take them through the application, so at least they know what they need to do if they don't have all of the information at that point.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, I want to thank you all for a very productive meeting this evening. Thank you for bearing with me. Thank you for your suggestions. I'm excited to get this resolution put together, circulated. Next steps will be, I'll just in reverse order, I will put forward these suggestions to the board office for the community fair. I will work with the board office on this resolution and hopefully get some language to you all in the next 2 weeks. And then the 418 Rogers Avenue application will go to the general board meeting and be voted on. Just to be clear, Vital Brooklyn Kingsborough will have a very prominent part of the resolution. So I just want to be clear about that and marked as a top urgent matter. So Menachem, all of your suggestions are not in vain. That everything you said, I will attempt to make sure is retained in the resolution. So yeah, with that, thank you all very much. I adjourn the meeting at 8:38 p.m. See you all at the general meeting and be in touch hopefully in the meantime. Thank you.